to the workshop here. We're going to be looking about diving into Rails and reading it. Yeah, we're going to do it. All good? Thank you. Okay, perfect. I work at Spinel. I'm sort of joined this co-op where we're making Rails teams more performant. We're sort of focused on quality, speed, and enjoy eventually as well. Our main thing is we're working on RV. We install Ruby in seconds, and you don't have anything like OpenSSL build issues anymore where that can break or whatever, where Homebrew will upgrade something and it'll break something. As a user, you can install with Brew, and you can time how fast it takes to install. For me, it was like 3 seconds or something like that when I tried on the inn I'm staying at, that Wi-Fi, and you can run it and see the version, for instance, that it puts out that. So eventually we wanted to be able to do something like RV run Rails new, where we both install Ruby for you and then also install Rails and we just run new for you. So it's like one command, sort of like that. I've also worked on a bunch of different Rails gems to sort of take Rails to, I guess, a new level in a way. Oaken is my thing for like fixtures and factories and trying to do that differently because we sort of like had Rails has built-in fixtures, which are kind of cumbersome in a way, and then there's factories, which I also find kind of cumbersome, so this is sort of my attempt at doing something different, and there's a bunch of other ones as well. In this workshop, we're currently doing the intro. I think I'll do a demo as well. We'll probably do some breaks in between. I don't quite know how we want to run this. I was thinking we would actually run this quite like an unconference style, where we'll sort of just see what you want, and I can answer questions, and we'll do something together as well, and just have a discussion as well. Basically because, we can look at screens at home, but it's kind of difficult to talk to people. Well, you can do it with Zoom, but it's not the same thing. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Hope that works. Yeah, so this is kind of up for grabs, so we'll sort of figure it out as we go. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to play all this stuff by ear and see how it feels. Going to try to keep this loose and relaxed, so we have plenty of time for discussion. Okay. So I just want to quickly go over some of the benefits of why I think you should dive into Rails. For me, part of what you'll get is we'll end up having more overhead, because the more code you've seen, the more easy you'll see your own code or what you see in a day job as well. There's a ton of stuff you can learn in there from seeing constructs that you haven't seen before, haven't used in a certain way, and then because of Rails being so large, it has to do things a certain way, sometimes for optimizations or performance and whatnot. We'll have a ton of abstractions in there to make something happen. Something like the SQL generation, for instance, which I think might be, the SQL generation itself might be a little bit too much for us today, but we'll see. It also helps you train your level of discernment, being able to tell what's good, what's bad, which I just saw Opie's keynote there. It seems like that's even more important for some of the AI stuff, to be able to tell what's good, what's bad. And then all this stuff then helps your day job, where diving into new parts of the code base you're working on, even for like things like code reviews or giving you new ideas for how to build things. Or you can also review a gem you're using where if you've dove into Rails before, suddenly that's not as scary. And then, so that's typically what I do is, I think, is that actually the next line? Oh, hold on. What I tend to do is just open up a new gem, for instance, that I see somewhere, just out of curiosity, and spend, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to see how far I get and how easy it is to understand. And so that's one thing you kind of use this for, and then you'll learn even more as well, so it kind of doubles on itself, which leads me into the next part. All of this stuff is really about having incremental progress, where you sort of want to go in there and grab 1% over time. So you'll pick things up about Rails itself, about how Ruby works, or other gems sort of here and there, and all that stuff sort of adds up, so you keep building to have more and more. So today I'm really hoping we'll just start you off if you haven't done this before at all. And also help you get unstuck. So if there's questions you want, or like fears or whatever, we'll get into that as well and help you feel comfortable at least starting or trying things. So a few things on what I mean when I say reading open source. To me, it's actually not passive. I think sometimes you can get the sense that when you hear reading, it's like, oh, I just look at it and then I know it immediately. But that's not really what it is. For me, it's also where you want to engage critically with what it is you're actually seeing on screen. Try to take it apart, maybe put in debugger statements or put statements, or sometimes grabbing a piece of it and then practice it in the console. What you're looking to get here is you want to start by getting accurate. You want to have more accurate sense of what you're seeing on screen. So the guesses you're making are correct and deterministic, and over time that helps you build trust that you know what's actually going on when you see it on screen. And it leads to speed, and sort of you have this flow where all these things sort of work together, essentially, and sort of like this nice, well, see, I get to that, the feedback loop. And then the overall feedback loop you want to have is slightly scientific, where you're trying to hypothesize about stuff you're seeing, and then you're trying to figure out how to verify what you're seeing on screen. Which essentially, in other words, it's like you ask questions, and then you'll figure out how to find answers. And don't make this stressful. Make it so you want to come back to do this, because it's supposed to be fun, essentially. So don't worry about it. Like if you open up something in Rails that's super complex, don't worry about it. Grab that 1% and then come back later. So it's more about like coming back, essentially. So I'll talk about how I would come up with questions. Here's a sample from some of the Rails source. Authenticate by is a fairly new method, I think, from 7.2 or something. But the idea is you have something like a user class that has a password. You want to be able to authenticate them. Then there's something called timing attacks. I'm not really going to cover that for right now. But you want something that's consistent, so at the same time, so hackers can't suss you out. But here's part of the implementation where we got the authenticate by method itself, and then there's a bunch more stuff happening in it. I just took a chunk of it. But if you haven't seen any of this stuff before, maybe you could generate a bunch of questions for yourself. What's 2H if I haven't seen that before? What's the map 2H as well? What do we need that for? What's this partition thing doing? Has attribute, I haven't seen that before. So if you haven't seen these things before, you could generate questions for yourself about, so that's actually things you can investigate pretty immediately. And then for me, when I'm trying to then find answers, either you can read the docs, figure out if it's in Rails docs, or if it's like the Ruby docs for something like that partition thing you saw, or try to use a console. How would I actually be able to call partition on something? I see 2H here. If I know what that is, it returns a hash, so at least you know that you could use it on a hash, for instance. Probably do a demo on that as well. Another thing I tend to use is sort of, this is for verification purposes, where I'm trying to ballpark it a bit. Would this give me an answer in 60 minutes or 5 minutes or like 1 minute? And then I'm trying to use my own creativity to figure out how could I verify this faster. So I grab something of this like, if I use this would this take me an hour to understand everything here? Okay, well what if I break it off to just one piece? And then maybe it would take me a long time to figure out how to run this specific piece of code and run the test for it. I think it's in Active Record actually. But you could grab something and just call that partition manually on your own and suddenly get a result a lot faster and to start developing a sense for what that thing does, at least part of it. Okay. And then how I use this in my day-to-day, sometimes it's just I spend 15 minutes looking at a piece of code I'm seeing, like a method or something, just curious how it works, and also use this to generate questions. Oh, I haven't seen this before, or like, oh, I have seen this before, and then I just like filter it out. So I'm really looking for things I haven't seen before. Yeah, and then sometimes I also rewrite some of the stuff I'm seeing just for like the therapeutic effect of it and just seeing what that changes things for. Yeah, and then if I spot a new gem, I'll open up and click through it just out of curiosity as well. Okay, so I sort of thought that we'll do some sort of demo here. I think it would be interesting if we didn't plan it, so I haven't planned a demo. So if there's something you want to see in Rails, we'll try to just peek at it, look at it, and see how that goes. Don't pick like Active Record because we'll be here all day, but like something smaller. Is there something that sounds interesting there? Anything? We'll take a couple suggestions and we'll see how it goes. Turbo refreshes? Let's keep it into Rails itself. Okay. Yeah.
Accepts nested attributes for.
Okay, yeah. That's probably pretty tricky, but yeah, we can look at it. Anybody got anything else? Otherwise, I think we'll try that. The mic again? Yep. Better now? Cool. Okay. Now how do so I have to, over here, you can't see this. Where is it? Where's my mouse? It's over there. macOS has the thing, so that big screen is to the right of my screen here. So my mouse is technically out here. So I have to pull it back. Now it's on my screen. Thank you. Mirror, yes. Okay. Cool, so this is another, we actually don't want this. Do we have Rails? Yeah. Okay, let's see, what is it? Accepts nested for, I don't know where it's defined, so okay, that was easy. So I'm just searching throughout the whole project. I have a local checkout of Rails that I'm just searching through. Oh, by the way, how's the font size? I can't see from here. Okay. Too big? Big? Okay. Actually, what if we do this as well? Okay. And I gotta look at my screen. Okay. Okay. So I'm just gonna open it up. Yeah, whole bunch of things here. Where do we want to start with this? Oh, actually, not too bad. Okay. I haven't looked at acceptance therapy before, so I'm just reading through it by myself to see what there's anything to say. Pretty common. Okay, so this is one of the things that's a little bit strange with Rails. Like this is actually a sign that this was written before keyword arguments. So Rails used to have a bunch of this stuff throughout the code base where you're extracting options, but what it means is this is an array, and then extract options will pop the last element off its hash. So now the way I would do it is, let's see if I can run the console. IRB, hold on, let me do it this way. Do I want to run? It's probably active support, so I think we could do all. Wait, and then extract? Oh, okay. Oh, okay, hold on. Okay, it's still in there. Yeah, okay. Extracts options from a set of arguments, removes and returns the last element if in the array, if it's a hash, otherwise returns a blank hash. Okay. So typically it's just me, I just make sure I'm familiar with what it actually does. Instead of just the documentation, I just want to see it run. So what happens if we do empty hash? If we have a hash in here, then A, B. Okay, so it finds the last one. But it's essentially doing keyword arguments. But this was written, 16 years ago. Okay. 9 years ago, 16 years as well. Hold on. Can we actually highlight that? Oh, let's see. Okay. This is in 2009. Okay. Add support for nested object form, secretariat, and a Hilberson action pack. Oh yeah, Michael Kosiarski used to be on a Rails core team. 2009, changelog edge. So this was in 2.3. Okay. In Rails. So yeah, so that's the other thing you can find in a lot of this stuff. Okay, that's a huge. Okay, all right. Well, also nuts that this works. Okay, cool. Allow destroy update only. Don't know what they do. Assert valid keys is another extension on hashes that Rails has. We can actually see that as well. I think we just do. Let's see. Does it raise? It doesn't. What do we have here? B again. Let's see. What if we do this? Okay, so then it raises. Cool. On key A, valid keys are C. Okay. And then. So now my next question is like, where is this actually defined? So I'm using method to look it up, and then we'll spit out, can you actually start, I know when we're getting to the bottom of the screen, it's actually going to be, can we do that? No. Yeah, I think we tried, but we couldn't really get it to work. So it's going to be in here. But anyway, I tend to ask just a method on an instance, so we'll get an instance method back to see where things are defined, and it happens to be here on this like keys thing, and you could also do, I hope you can see this, but method then returns a method object, right? Oh, I see with my own screen. A method object where you can then also see if there's a super method defined, something that we would call super, what's defined up chain. It's not, so this is the final place for it. Okay, let's see. And then I'm doing command clicks here in my editor to open it up where it is. So now with okay, and that's the bottom. So I'll scroll, hold on. So now we could go read through that again. And here we're also doing, well, this is just an array, so that's fine. Each key, cool. I think we're on a hash, aren't we? Yeah, we're on hashes. You can see that up there. So now we're all the way into active support, which is where Rails keeps a ton of helpers essentially. And it has a core folder, core X folder, which is core extensions. So that's where all of these methods that are added to core Ruby classes, like hash, is in here. You can see here we're on hash. And it probably just yeah. Once you require this file, we'll just reopen this class because Ruby supports that, and we'll start adding all these methods directly to it, essentially. Okay. Assert valid keys again. Flatten them, sure. Loop through each of our keys and see if we're included in the set or not. If we aren't, we're spitting them out. Yeah. Okay. But so this tends to be my approach where if I haven't seen this before, I'm just curious just to open it up and seeing what it does and then see if there's anything that stands out to me in here. Not really. This is probably also, there's no, we don't get a, this is now open up, I think, in the gem itself, not in my checkout, so we can't see any like commit information. So who knows how long it's been here. We could probably do, if we do, correct. If I open up pass keys, right? Okay, and then we got. Okay, there we go. Okay, 20 years ago, 15 years, 15 years, 12 years. Okay, and then something here. 12 years again. Okay. What about the ends? Okay. Cool. Yeah. Okay, so back out. So now this means that we can only have these 4 keys in our hash, or as we'll raise. This is just another way where this is before keyword attributes. So I probably just, allow? We can probably just copy these. These are probably the defaults. So it's probably like this. Don't need these. Allow destroy. We could also say limit. What's the other one that's missing? Reject if. Oh, and syntax error. Oh. Tough to type. Be really. So it's probably just like this essentially. So the other 4 lines was a way to approximate keyword arguments. Rails would not accept this if you submit it as a PR, by the way, because it's sort of considered a cosmetic commit. So we prefer to keep the version history you saw from like 12 and 15 years ago if there's not really a need to change it. But this is another thing I would do, is just like make sure my understanding is correct and just try to update it to what I would actually think it would be. Well, I think this is drifted down a bit. Just to check that understanding. I don't know what this next thing does. Reject all blank proc. And then in my editor, if I highlight a thing, I just hit Command E and then Command G to sort of see where the instances are. I guess it's also filled it out in the search bar here, but that's sort of what I do. And then we have a proc here. Okay. All either destroy or blank. Okay, we have the values there. Cool. Highlight something else. If it's all blank, yeah, that seems right. Okay, I'll just step back out of this. And what you could do as well, the changes I just made, what I probably do is also hit save, and now it's in my Rails checkout, and I can see, can I see a diff? I guess so. Well, it's showing that there's a diff here. Is it out? There, it's also changed, cool. Yeah, and then, yeah. We could also just start from the top here if you want to, and then we'll be here for 4 days or whatever. Cool. Okay. But then what you could do when you have the local checkout is basically to try to save this, see if the tests all pass, and if they don't, then you learn something else as well. Actually, we could try to do that. I don't know if my test still works. It's been a while since I last run some of this stuff. Anyway, I'm backing out. And then after that, we're just going to loop through each of these attribute names. I didn't even show the documentation for it. I guess I just assumed. But the point is that if you have forms in Rails where you didn't want to accept like a nested model that you didn't want to save as part of, hold on, is this that way? I think this is how it's going to be, okay. You want to be able to pass those attributes along as well and also have that object saved as part of one form transaction essentially. Hope that makes sense. Let's see. What are we doing here? Autosave, validation callbacks, we're defining callbacks there. Dumping something, assigning something into this hash. Oh, this is going to fall down. Oh. Attributes options, collection, one to one. Okay. Interesting. 15 and 12 years ago. Okay. Okay. And then we're raising. Interesting. Okay. Arthur. Okay, I remember Arthur. 12 years ago. Okay. I wonder if we should take a break here, because we could go deeper if you want to, and that's typically what I would do. Like, there's a few things. I know I've seen this one before, internal method. There's all these reflections, so you both associations where belongs to has many, but what they actually do internally is to generate these reflections which capture options, and then they use that to build the associations. That's a whole thing, so we could probably be here for like 20 minutes. We could go into it if we want to. I just want to make sure we're like checking in and you're seeing, yeah, go ahead.
I got 2 questions.
Yeah.
That feel pretty like basic to me, and I'm surprised.
Yeah, totally, yeah, go for it.
Answer to especially this first one. Like in your workflows when you're kind of like checking out stuff like this, because I'll get to a page and I'm like, well, okay, I do want to dig into this gem, and I'll just go to GitHub and then try to find it and all that stuff. Is there, because you mentioned something a second ago offhand, like, oh, now we're like looking at the gem itself, so I maybe can't see the Git.
Yes.
Is that like a viable option just to do in a regular?
Yeah.
Okay, how do you do that?
Oh, yeah, so you probably need to check out for that if you want the commit information.
I
Yes.
the gems that I have, like in the versions that I have.
Yes, you're
How
talking
easy
about.
and like quick is that to be able to access without having to like separately go over to like my web browser?
Yes, yes. So typically it's going to be like this. I hope people can see it right. Let's see. I've probably got to do. I guess this is the best I can. Wait, actually, can we? Hold on. Yes. Computers. Okay. Cool. Is that good? Make it wider. Okay. Let's see.
Does Command K work?
Command K. Oh, okay, yeah. But then we can't see the rest of the output. Okay, well, anyway, but yeah. So I could just. No, it's all good. Let's see. We'll probably make it wider. Yeah. So typically, what I do is use the method to grab a method, so you can see. It'll show you basically because we return. Getting very meta here. Oh, I've hit a wrong button. Okay, hold on. And then it'll print out the source location. But it's because they're, like here in RFB, it'll print out the inspect output, which is what you're getting here, which then includes the source location, which is this thing. I guess it's an array, but it's combined here. And then in my editor, I happen to be able to hold command, and it'll highlight the line, and I can click on that, and it'll open it up. But you could grab the whatever it is in your product, it's going to be, on your machine and everything. But be able to open it up somewhere.
Okay, so you usually just kind of get the path from here and just command click over into it.
Yeah, exactly. Just if I want to quickly see it, essentially, because then it becomes super easy to do this thing and see where it's defined.
Okay.
And we're already into the source as well, and it works for any Ruby method, which is also why I like using the console for this kind of stuff, where you have it open and you can start sort of introspecting and using a lot of Ruby's built-in introspection for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and on that note, my second question is that you had something a second ago that it's not the autocomplete, but it should show that same autocomplete little pop-up.
Yeah.
The documentation.
Yes.
How do I get this? I love this.
Yeah, so I think it might actually be built into IRB these days.
Really?
It might be.
I'm just so outdated.
Yeah, what Ruby version am I? I'm probably on, I can actually see that. What if we do this? What Ruby am I using?
And frequently,
Oh, yeah, it's just.
I'm in like direct Rails console, and we are on a pretty old version, so maybe that's like part of it. So I just need to, make the effort to like get us upgraded. But yeah.
I think it might be built into IRB, or otherwise it's let's see, how did it work again? What was it? There's. Yeah, it might also be Ruby LSP. Yeah. I think this pop-up might be IRB actually. Yeah, okay, so that's IRB now on. I don't remember which Ruby version added it. Sorry, what? Rails 7? But I think IRB would be in maybe Ruby 3.2 or something like that, where it's built in. Yeah.
Okay, that explains it. We're on 3.1. All right.
Okay, maybe it's 3.2 or 3.3, I don't remember. But I know IRB added, this is a pop-up that's built in later on in the console itself.
Okay.
And I guess I just tap through. Yeah, and then you get some documentation. But this would just be the documentation that's on the Ruby documentation site. So you can still find it and things, but let's see. And then in my editor, I got Ruby LSP set up. What is that? Settings? Ugh, don't want to do I'll just write it out. So this is what I've got set up as well, Ruby LSP, to help get the same kind of pop-ups in my editor. This is in the console, so it's running Ruby, but yeah. Okay, cool. Oh, and then I'm using something else here on the method object. You can check the parameters. It'll show there's rest here is the keyword for that. What was it? Yeah. The star there, and it'll have the name of the valid keys, the name of the argument as well. It's not totally useful. It'll just have a Ruby representation of what we're seeing in the signature right here, but sometimes it's interesting. Cool. I wonder what else we want to do. What are we doing on time? Okay. We've got like an hour and 20 minutes, I think. Okay, perfect. Do you want a break now or something? Like 5-10 minutes, something? We'll come back. We're feeling good? Okay. Well, let's keep going. Cool. Yeah. Would everybody feel confident enough to dive into something? I can help you pick which things we might want to look at. We don't have to all look at the same thing. I think it might be interesting if people are splitting up and picking your own thing. Also, by the way, if you want to pick something that you think is super advanced or difficult or whatever, that's fine. We'll just open it up and start talking through it as well. So don't feel like too discouraged from that. How do people feel about that? Kind of interested? Some people are just like, no, not at all. Okay. Anybody know what sorry, what, Justin?
Not sure what to pick.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get into some suggestions then. So, active support could be a good one. My approach would be to, you probably have Rails installed, but if not, how about this? It's just, gem install Rails. Oh, and then, right, I'm not connected to the internet. But assuming that would work, I have it installed, and then I can do gem open Rails. Okay, I have it configured, cool. So, wait, now I'm in a different window. You can't see that. So if you have Rails installed, you could gem open Rails. Actually, I'm just going to walk you through that because it's not very interesting. Yeah, there you go. That's it. So that's Rails. It's 2 files, a license and then a README. But the thing here is you can't see this. I'll show you in the. So this is the local checkout. Gems, Rails gem spec. Yeah, okay, it works. So Rails is really just a meta gem that packages all of these at the same version level. So that's why in the built gem, Rails itself is very tiny. I didn't even know it shipped the README. So all the stuff you want to look at in all of these gems you probably heard of before. Railties is where the generators are defined. And what else is in there? Well, it's not super important. I might not start there. That's also where engines are and the application itself. See, but basically what I would do is then grab one of these out of curiosity. Maybe active support is actually best. So I have that locally, happens to be 811. And now we've got a little bit more. Just open it up, and then we've got a whole bunch of stuff in here. My approach would be to find one of the files and just click into it and see what you find. And see how you get on with that. And here's the super thing. So you could see if you can figure out how to array inquire inherits from array. Okay. So what I would do then is, are we loaded up here? Do we actually have a console? No, there's not. Okay, is there a bin folder? No, wait, we're in the gem, we're not in the checkout. Okay. Hampers things a little bit. But you should still be able to, if you have like a Rails app open, to be able to run a console and load it, essentially. Okay. People feel good, ready to try something, or? Okay, cool. Should we set like a timer for, I don't know, what if we do like 10 minutes and then see how we get on? Okay. Everybody have something to look into? If you're coming around, okay. I see some thumbs up there. If you're not, let me know and then we'll talk about it. Okay. Okay. Set a timer for 10 minutes and then pull stuff up.
Kasper, what do you think are interesting pieces of Rails like the hidden gems?
Well, technically they're all hidden gems. This is
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's see. I don't really know if there's any like hidden gems as well. It's more like within them in a way. Yeah.
Suggesting looking at callbacks. Because I'm always confused by event, prevent, round,
Yeah.
and all of that.
Yeah.
Or I know how, but I would like to know how it works.
Yeah.
Is that hard?
Well, I mean, I'll show you.
It's
We could
pretty
do.
small to file.
It's what? Sorry.
The files.
Oh, whoops. This is.
That long.
Hold on. We need support callbacks.
I mean, they're private. Yeah, that's like this. Also,
Actually, Karen, I'll make you a challenge. You try to look into it and tell me what you find, and then we'll try to look at it together. Okay. Yeah, it's not too bad. Hold on. Wait, where's the? Oh wait, I'm not on Wi-Fi.
Oh, I guess you're not paying the funds.
Or wait, you were okay. Okay.
You started with the definition.
Sorry.
Yeah, you started with like a definition, which was easy to find. But I'm like, let's do callbacks, and I'm like already in active modal, active record, and like you're like, so how would you navigate?
Yes.
That's a harder
Yes.
way to start.
Yes.
Because
Let's.
I'm like, oh, where should I? Like I have a way in, but like I'm
Yeah.
like includes, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah, that's a good
where
call.
does it
Yeah.
go? And like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, for
really
sure.
interesting to see how you navigate.
Yes.
And find like this is where you start.
Yeah.
And this is how you.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, we'll look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, because lots of extensions includes and yeah.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
That's very true.
I'm in the file.
Okay, yeah.
I guess just knowing that active model versus active support versus all like
Right, yeah, that definitely helps. Yeah, some other context. It's like, oh, wait, that's, yeah, okay.
that is why it's there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah. I think we got about a minute and then we'll see how you're going on. Thanks. Okay, what if we do a check-in now? Let's see, how are people getting on? Is it easy, difficult, or super confusing, or? Curious, like, but you were looking. Okay, cool. Um, is anybody that wants anything for us to pull up on screen and talk through, or? Yeah, yours. Yeah, you got one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What did you start, or like try to?
We started with like the main class method.
Okay. Oh, attribute essentially. Yeah, yeah.
Doing some interesting things right away.
Oh, where am I at? Can we actually require this? I'm gonna hack it a little bit. What is that? I guess no. Wait, that's not gonna work. Having to use. What if I do? Anyway, I know what's defined. Let's do. This is probably gonna give us a bunch of results. Yeah. What if we do this? Hack it with a regex. Oh, is that it? This is an active model. Was that what you ended up? Okay, perfect. Yeah. So now we have some people that were looking into active model attributes, which has a whole type system. It's what ActiveRegit uses when you have your schema or whatever. So you have a user with a name. It would loop through from the schema, call this attribute method in ActiveRegit. To sort of define that type essentially. Okay, I changed 3 years ago. So now we're looking into some of that stuff here. So what happened for you when you were looking into the stuff? You were basically here and trying to figure out what's going on, right?
I think it was one level above actually. It's like
Okay.
the main entry point, which is in the attributes.rb.
Ah, attributes, .rb. In active model or active record?
Active model.
Okay, let's see here.
And it starts using active supports code generator.
Yes, yeah. Let's see. So we're also supering from that. Hold on, I haven't looked at this, so I'm just going to familiarize myself a little bit. Method suffix, yes. Yeah. we're like deep into a bunch of metaprogramming now. Let's see, Daniel Colson as well, okay. Attribute names, define an attribute method, initialize, yep, okay. Switch to hash, name, space, right attribute, yep, okay. Attribute, first value, cool. Yeah, I can see there's not a ton going on in here. Like it's difficult to see what's going on, so probably the things are actually happening into attribute registration. Is that the one I want? Yeah, it probably is. And now we're back to right back to where I was before. Funny enough. Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's any specific tips or something, because this is a little bit more on the gnarly side, which is okay. Hook attribute type, cool. Okay, we are. Decorate attributes. Oh, by the way, when you're looking into Rails source, when you see these node docs, it's because it's private API, so you shouldn't rely on this because it could change between versions, and it won't show up on the doc site. And then sometimes you'll actually find things that are saying doc, even though they're private methods. So that means technically it's private in Ruby, but Rails actually wants it to be public API, so you can still rely on it. It just happens to be marked as private in Ruby. This is like one of those like weird things. And this is probably a public method, but then it's marked as no doc, so don't rely on it, and it won't be on the doc site itself.
When would they pick between using the underscore and not if they're both intended to be private API?
Sorry, which one?
How would you?
Oh, I see I didn't see the underscore. Yeah, I don't know. I remember something about the decoration. There was some talks, which was like 10 years ago, but talks about making that public, or whether or not it should be part of public API. So that's a little bit more, but there's really not like a rule to it. Sometimes putting an underscore in front is a little bit more like extra private, or a little bit more visibly private, and prevents clashes in Rails apps if people are writing this stuff.
But is that, like, should I do that in my app, or is that like a
It's just-
framework thing?
It's just a convention, essentially. Not like one of the Rails conventions,
I know
but
it, I
yeah.
always think it's ugly, but
Yeah. I don't really do it either, at least not in apps. I don't think I ever did it when I wrote stuff on Rails, but yeah, because it's a little bit clunky. And then sometimes there was also, when there was instance variables, sometimes they would also be like this to be extra or whatever, and like the idea is to prevent clashes, because I think this is a module that's then included into the other module we were seeing earlier, which is then included into an active record. So technically, active records would have these like default attributes assigned, so it could clash with stuff you're setting in your active records or whatever. That's the whole thing. So cool. And I don't think we get too far in the whole solution of these things. So this is like rabbit holes within rabbit holes. But my perspective on that is to kind of keep tracing things, and eventually we'll sort of get somewhere. And then, in my experience, it's really interesting to do these kind of rabbit holes, because eventually you'll hit bedrock, where we're kind of there with what we're looking at before. Not here, but like pending type probably doesn't have a ton of stuff in it. I don't know what it is. Oh, it's right there. Okay, cool. Also no dark. Yeah. So now we're kind of pretty close to, like, this is not really going to go any further or any deeper, so we can close that loop out. I don't know what pending type is. I don't really know what the pending default. Well, pending default is probably. I'm not sure. We use a default. Okay. Decorators as well. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on here. There's a ton of stuff. It is, overall, I would say the whole attribute system is actually pretty well designed, but there's probably just a lot of redirection. I think this might be what we have on this for right now. I wonder if we should go to something else. Anybody else looked at something you want to look at? Yeah.
We had maybe an interesting spot on the validation stuff RV and active model.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like here, like where we stopped at. I'm curious if there's like maybe like historical context that you just have off the top of your head to answer a curiosity question on the validate.
Yeah. Let's see. Validate. This thing.
Actually, never mind. I think we were looking at a different version.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. But.
Because yeah, we were looking at one where it's like, oh, it's like setting the options unless, but like basing that on the options except on, like if there's an intersection or I don't know, it's
Okay.
interesting. But I see you're on the version.
Okay. Do you remember what version was?
It's active model 804.
804. Okay, let's see. What if we do? Oh, come on. I'm gonna hack it. Let's see. Model. And then how do I do the version? 804. No. That is not where I want it. Okay. Like that. There we go. Okay. And let's do. What if we do? Is that gonna work? Yeah, it worked. Okay. We'll do. Let's say validate. Was that it? Oh, that's the readme. Not what I wanted. Not what I wanted. Cool. No. So this is, by the way, one of the tricks I'm doing sometimes is switching on regex search, which I do here in my editor. But then /b is a word boundary. So it's a way to cut off where before, if I had it like this, we're finding all, well, actually this one seems to be the same, but we're also finding these methods. And I know that's not what I want, so I'm cutting it off there, and then it won't show up in the result.
Right there, yeah.
Okay, so that one. So is this the one? Or is this thing? Oh, is it? Okay, all right. Okay, let's see. Let me close this out there. Except on, was this is validate, except on? Okay. So I remember a little bit with some of these like on stuff is you can have validation context. So you could say,
We opened up a validation context class, and that's where we
yeah, for sure, yeah. But what I remember from the context, just to explain that a little bit first, is you could have like validates presence of something, like a name, but then you could give it a certain context. So it only applies where what you can actually do is, like you could have a mod user.save, and then you can pass in I think it's like a context there, so you could say only for the admin save. And then if you have specific validations that are only on admin, then you can do that. And then, but then there's also the inverse, apparently, which is then except on a specific context. You typically don't see people doing that anymore. It's kind of an old school style in a way, and I think people are preferring something like form objects these days to kind of split those two contexts out. Anyway, but we're looking at the code itself. So let's see. Okay, and I'm gonna scroll up. So by the way, this is the same thing from earlier, extract options. So this is another reason why I like diving into some of these underpinnings before, because we've seen, and since I've run this in a console, I kind of have an idea for how this works. So now when I'm seeing it now, I'm like, well, I already looked at that, so I don't need to. I can just move on to the next thing. So we're sort of building on top of stuff we already looked at. And the same thing you do in Rails apps and things like that. We're like, oh, I've seen this before. I don't need to look into that. Like the same thing with all, for instance. I think that's just a built-in, what is this, an array? Yeah. I think it's probably just a built-in on arrays. So what I do there is open up, double check that. Symbol, let's see what happens if we do this. That's fine. What if we do this? Okay. What if we do this? Now it's false. Okay. So I just double check it and run it just to see if my sense of it is accurate. And then you could always look at the documentation as well. Would I get the pop-up here? No? Is it because it's an instance? What if we do, let's set it to that, and then all? Oh, there we go, okay. Okay, and then, okay. It's clipped, what if, can I scroll? No, I cannot. How do I see it then? Do I just do this? Oh, okay. Okay, well, okay, yeah, from Ruby core, I see. Oh, option D. Oh, interesting, okay. Well, yeah, so that's basically, but at least for me, I like also just running it for myself, just to, it helps train my memory as well, so it's not just, oh, I read it and forget it, but then just running it a few times and trying it with my own output and seeing how it changes. It's just different for me, at least. And there's a few different options as well. You can have that, just the object form. Anyway, close that rabbit hole. How do I get out of this then? No, that scrolls. I actually haven't used this pop-up a lot. How do I get out of this? Q. Wait, hold on. Okay, cool. Close that out. So that's that part, and then you ask you about this. So then there's also the key method on hashes. See if that key is included in our options hash. And then dub means we're duplicating, so we're not mutating, because right here we're going to be mutating the options hash, so we don't want that to cascade, I guess. And then array here means that we can, hold on, I'll show this too. Array is actually a method you can run, so you could do like this, get an array back. If it's already an array, it'll still be an array. So it's a way to just wrap and make sure you have the same type, essentially. because we always want this except on to be an array, I guess. And then we'll do, okay, so we're basically, this is a fancy way of prepending to our array. We're basically, this is going to expand what's already in unless. It might be nil, it might be an array. And then we're passing this in as well. There's the validation context. What is that what you were looking at as well?
Yeah.
Oh, and then the intersect.
No, we did, like, the intersect, like, we played with and realized it was like that ampersand. Like, we always use it as the ampersand.
Yes, yeah, exactly, yeah.
But the validation context we looked up, like, oh, this like basically got us to a class.
Yeah, let's see, where's O at? Where's O? Oh, it's coming from the block. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I guess this is a little bit implicit as well, because this will eventually be, like what this is doing is going to be like, you have validates, I'm just going to write it like this. Presence of, you have a name, and then you could say unless, but then that would get a block with the record in it. If this is like a user record, you'd have a user something, and so what this is sort of saying is, the object here would be any one of the active records on active model. And we're also checking the except on whether or not that then has, yeah. So unless it's on that specific validation context. And I guess O here would then be the user, so I guess there'd be a user validation context. Okay, well, let me double check that. I think I can look at this. I think I have a console here. How do I do that? Is this right? The first? Where's the, I don't know where the validation context is set. Okay, so it does respond to that method, but we're not setting that right now. Do you want to try to hack that? I don't know. Okay, well, okay, but yeah, so that's probably, so it's in something on an active record somewhere, so we want to see if we can, oh, okay. Context for validation, not context, okay, cool. But yeah, here's the context you can pass in. Again, this is like an old style in a way. I don't think they're that used anymore, and it gets complex really quick, so that's why people have sort of switched to form objects, I think, because you can model those contexts more explicitly as opposed to putting it all into that same active record. Oh, and here's the validation context again. So this is kind of that unless option we're seeing before would look, I guess, like that, and then it would be what equals, wrap inverses it. And then the except on is a shorter version of this, where it would basically be except on, custom. So it'll sort of pre-fill it for you, I guess. That's kind of the gist of that option we were looking at. Okay. Oh, and then I made edits. Okay. What are other people looking into? Oh, do you want to see callbacks? Or we get to, yeah, go ahead.
You can tell me if this is going in a bit too deep, but there's like an open Rails issue from like 3 years ago, and I kind of wanted advice on like how you resurrect something like that. What are the modern ways to do that and write the tests properly?
Sure. We could try to take a look, but that's more contributing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could try to take a look. Let's see. Browser window. Do you remember the issue number, or like how do we find it?
Yeah, I have it. 42387 is the issue number.
Oh, okay. Issues. That this thing?
Yeah.
Dedicate time.
It's
But
one, like, after record thing.
okay. I wonder if this might be something we want to look at towards the end, actually. We still got like 50 minutes, I think. I'm just skimming through here. Yeah, okay, that's me. Cool. Oh, and it's just an issue, but there's a pull request here? We have some system target from memory. Okay. Cool. We could look at it, but there's probably got to be a bunch of context associated with it as well. So that's.
I left a comment at the very bottom that
Yeah.
summarizes it.
Oh, that's you?
That's me, the
Ah.
Cookie Monster.
Oh, 2 minutes ago, perfect.
Those 3 lines of code right there, pretty much.
Ah, okay, yeah. Has one to be, includes be soul, okay. Yeah, get that one out. Should be preloaded cache, but it's not, okay. Includes BC, so you go through that, okay. Oh, full production, nice, okay. By the way, this is also a way that you can, these scripts are coming from the Rails bug report templates that are in the repo. But you could also run one file modeling Rails apps with this kind of stuff. I used that before to just write out a schema, write out some models, and see how the whole thing works together. I've done it for clients as well, which is kind of nice. You can just send them one file and they can just run it and see how it works or how the modeling plays together. You just connect to a memory database. Anyway, okay, full reduction, defining these authors' books, has one author, has been challenged. But this is, I thought this was, so it's not related to delegated types?
I don't know what a delegated type is. So.
Okay. Was this a do not cascade? Okay. Was they're doing delegated types there? I guess, I don't know what they're having.
We found this bug when we were trying as one, and there's like, is it through association? We kind of expected it would be preloaded.
Yeah. Okay, so it seems like there's something to do with has one through associations. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. As far as I remember, has one sort of its own. It doesn't get as much attention as some of the other ones, but maybe I'm wrong. Oh, maybe that's just my own understanding. Okay. Yeah, so I don't know off the top of my head actually what we do there. Association cached. Oh, interesting. I have not seen that before. Okay. Cool. Just debating with myself what we want to look into next, because I don't know if we should go into this more right now. I think let's save this for later, because I don't know, like, I think this is going to be more on the contributing side as well. Like, yeah. But cool, thanks for doing the reproduction, by the way. We're also always looking for people who are willing to do that, and just you can run the test as well, and then it'll just show fail somewhere. I guess it's there.
Yeah, those will both fail.
Yeah. Oh, both? Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah. Got some time left. Anything else that people are looking into that you want us to look at together? Kieran, I know you mentioned the callback stuff. Should we try looking at that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, callbacks are also going to be pretty difficult. But basically, Kieran, your question was, you try to figure out where these things are defined, but all of a sudden it gets really complex because there's a bunch of modules and includes and things.
Yeah, I did find it, but
Okay.
it's active
Oh.
record, active model, and active support, and they all work together for callbacks.
Yeah, so you're looking at,
So it's
that's
like,
not in here.
hey, but it's good to understand like why something active record versus active model versus.
Yeah, for sure.
That's kind
Yeah.
of like that makes it way easier if you have that clear.
Yes.
And why would it move? Like what are the boundaries?
Yeah.
And also like if you start with callbacks, where do you start? Like why do you start with active records, for example, versus support, or where would you start? Because you can go outside in or inside out, or like it's interesting.
Yeah. Yep. You can start anywhere.
Callbacks in all three, and they all include each other, or like from supports to
Yeah, it's nested and extended.
model to, records, model to supports. Yeah.
Yes. What is it before save?
So yeah.
Was that not it? Is it just method? I think there's a change in Ruby at some point. Oh, okay. Oh, that's a class method. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so basically the idea is that in a model you'd something like call before save, after save, whatever, all those different callbacks you can have on an active record. So basically my sense would be to start here and then see where we end up now. So we're going to head into active model callbacks. Interesting. So I guess we're skipping the active record stuff for that. I guess maybe that's because we got, hold on. Oh, that was not what I wanted. Hold on, I have to go right out. Method.
I mean, user is active records.
Yes.
So it's like that thing you just called.
Oh, that's also.
Defined in like a callbacks in active records.
Yes.
So you just skipped it by.
Yeah, I don't know what's
So
in.
how do you? So like, why do you skip that one?
Yeah, well, basically it's because I tend to, like you're saying, you could both go like outside in, but then also like inside out.
Yeah.
And I don't know, in this case, since we're looking for something very targeted, I think I'll just start from what I know.
And
It was just a user that before save, just some place to start and see what that's defined. Now I'm just curious to see what's actually in the callbacks thing. Why we're not showing save valid before validation. Whole bunch of documentation I'm skipping over. I just want to see some code.
It's very simple.
Let's see. Yeah, so then we got the callbacks there. And now we got the include you were talking about. Modules, necessary modules. Okay. Oh, and then we'll just, okay. Interesting. So is there actually anything defined in here?
All the way involved.
Okay, and then we got define model callbacks. Okay, so we got some only after. But I was trying to look for after touch and seeing where that was defined, but it pointed back to active model callbacks, which didn't make sense. Okay, and then we got destroy. I'm just double checking here. Touch, increment, yep, okay. Increment, yep. Creator update. Update record, cool. Or an update callback, create callback, cool. Yeah. Oh, validation callbacks, okay. Yeah, so this is one of the trickier parts of some of this Rails stuff where, like you're saying, it's like modules, nested modules, and then even more nested modules, and then also some overrides where these are private methods that Rails uses where create record is 9 years ago, okay. This is one of the hooks Rails calls internally, I think, when it's creating a record, or to actually create the record. But then we're overriding that here in this module, the active record callbacks module, to then wrap with our callbacks behavior, and then we'll super into the actual implementation that will then send the record off into the database. Or actually not even yield into the block. If you have like a before save that, or before create or something that throws. So it might not even reach the super thing. So that's like very, from like deep within the bowels of actual record of how the saving stuff actually works. I can't remember when create or update is used, but it's kind of the same thing. It's last touched 7 years ago, and update record as well. Record, update, timestamps, okay. I don't know what that does. Okay, so let's see. So I think this explains why when I was looking at aftertouch, you can see here it's gonna, I think this is pretty reasonable that this is gonna end up defining aftertouch right here. And this is actually the line where it's defined, but it'll actually point into what's going on in here in this defined model callback. So now I'm curious if where was that? The trace we had before, if this is actually in that, is it not opening? Oh, okay. So this is defining one of them. Now I'm curious, was that in the, is that not, can I not find that? Okay, define model callbacks. Define callbacks, okay, cool. And then we're sending, okay, cool. So, yes. Yeah, so, or what was it? Afterwards probably here, right? No, it's before save. Okay, so we're looking at before save.
So
Yeah.
when you see these patterns, I'm like, I would never write that.
Yes, exactly.
Well, how is it? Because I look at this code, I'm like, that's not how you should write it, but it's in Rails. Am I wrong? Is Rails like how does it?
Well, so right now we're looking at more metaprogramming stuff, which is one of those techniques.
More open to how you do it, or
Yeah, but it's the way I see it is like, so this is pretty core for something like metaprogramming. You'd actually call define singleton method. So now we can unspool something like singleton methods. How, do you actually have anything? If you do, what do I want to do? User define method. I'll start here. Hello, and then we'll just have it. And then we could use it at new dot hello. So this is define method is a programmatic way of doing a def, and it goes on the instance. But then if you do define singleton method, it's the same as doing self dot def self dot whatever, and now we can call it on the class level. But then, since this just takes a symbol or a string, you can also make dynamic methods. So that's what Rails is doing when it's defining before save. You can see that the same structure here. Whatever the callback so save would be in here, making a string, and then it's defining the actual signature in here, and then using that assert valid keys we happened to see earlier. So it's asserting that we can only have those keys. We could actually also use keyword arguments in here, but again, not updating that. And then it calls this set callback and generates a symbol like this, okay? It's also interesting, why are we doing it that way? should we take that tangent too? Maybe. So this is like weird. This is a way to generate a symbol from a string, but well, either a symbol or string or whatever it might be in this callback. But then we're trying to wrap it as if this would create a string, but this would create a symbol. I don't know why we're doing this. I think we could just maybe do it this way. I don't know why that's there for. So anyway, we could do like a whole rabbit hole on that, but I don't know if you want to do that right now. Okay, so let's try to go back out. So now we're here. So this method is going to get called from here because you could see the same structure here, but that's also kind of difficult. I only noticed it because I happened to see it right above. Not necessarily that much to do about that. I guess you could try to look for these methods as well. So if we're on the user, grab the method, what was it? Define. Oh, wait, hold on, what's there? Oh, okay. And now we get to where they're defined. Yeah, so now we're back to here. Define. Okay, but then yeah, I don't know how we get to here unless we happen to see it. Yeah. Define model callbacks. More data extract options, setting some more options. Merging stuff in. Okay. Defining these callbacks. I don't know how much more. Okay. So I think then we'll be in, so this was in active model. What if we, okay, I'm actually in a different repo. And then, yes. And so now we're rolling up a further level. This define model callbacks was what we were just looking at before, which would then go in and do that dynamic method definition to define some of these callbacks essentially. Save, create, update, destroy. But then this method probably comes from, well, it comes from the stuff we looked at before, but then there's also, where is that? Well, active model callbacks, but then that, fuck's sake. Yeah. So, I'm trying to explain this too, but this happens to be one of those like weird quirks you don't really see in apps before, so this is also partly interesting that it's, one of those concessions you have to make where you both have a doc site, but the methods happen to not be defined here. They happen to be defined dynamically, but we have to show them on a doc site somehow. So this is the way you do that for like dynamic methods. You do this, and then you do the call sec thing or something. You do define a method to have it show up on the doc site. You do this call sec to show how you call it, which is not super descriptive. And then you have the other documentation for what it actually does. And then you can see, what is it? Yeah, actual callbacks for more information. Okay, not the most helpful, but so this is like an odd thing you have to do when you're doing these dynamic method definitions in Ruby, and then you want to document them better. So my rule of thumb is I don't really do any meta programming in apps because it's some of this kind of stuff that gets kind of complex. But then generally for libraries, I tend to think it's okay. So that's why something like these callbacks here, they're a little bit more extreme. But something like it belongs to or has many, where as long as you have that pattern defined and it's described in the documentation of how it behaves, I tend to think that that's okay. And something like has many gives you a ton of different stuff, like out of the box. And it happens to use some of these same techniques under the hood where you use like define method or these things to do it dynamically. Cool. Do we want to go one more level? This is callbacks here. Let's see. Cool. Okay. I do want to show just how gnarly it can get. So let's do one deeper level. Wait, this was an active record.
Yeah, so the next one's active
Model.
support.
Yeah. Let's do one level here. So, it's a deep sigh. If we start an active record and we're looking at all these different callbacks that are defining, they'll then come from active model that's then enriched and enhanced in active record. And then beneath all of that, we've also got active support. So now we're like 3 libraries level deep. It used to be there was only like active record and inactive support, but inactive model was like yanked out of that. So you could have models that are just in memory. They're not necessarily saved to the database. And this is like 15 years ago, okay. But then we're trying to trace all of that. So now we're scrolling through more documentation. Okay, yep. And then we're including here, when this is a Ruby hook when somebody extends themselves with this module, Ruby will fire this hook, and then you can do some further enrichment on it. So yeah, that's also fun. You wouldn't necessarily write any of this stuff, but you could do it on your own as well. Let's see, can I actually do that really quick? What if we do module, let's do test, and then we'll do it this way, and then I'll define def extended. Oh, just to show that we got this something. I don't know what that was going to be. And then what do we want? Oh, we actually can't. I have to put it out. Okay. Extend it, and then let's see. Oh, my syntax actually won't work. We'll just do it this way. Great. Okay, and then however many names I have. Okay, cool. So if you then do, let's see. Oh, there we go. So again, this is the stuff I was talking about earlier with how do I verify my understanding of this stuff when I'm seeing it. I just want to see it run, so how can I do it really quickly? It works on a module. I've seen this before in the documentation, so I kind of remember it, but then I wanted to show it to you, so I'll just sort of like hack it really quick and then print something out. And then I'm simulating new lines, so everything's just on one line in the console here by just using semicolons, and I know how to hack it with like, oh, I need this end and now at this end, and so forth. It's just how do we get an answer to this quickly? How does this actually work? Did I type the right thing? All that stuff. Yeah, hope that makes sense. But that's kind of a lot of what I would do to just like, I just want to see it run as well to see if I know where the stuff is and where it's called and things like that. So, okay, but then back to here where we're in active model callbacks, and now we're tracing back into access support. This is going to be not very user-friendly. Okay, so we got like a compiler as well for callbacks, so that's nice. Let's see, can I actually run, this is run callbacks. Can we see some more, yep, support code, class attribute, I don't want to see that. What's the thing I'm looking for, not run callbacks. What do we do, set callback, is that the one I'm looking for? Reset callbacks, set callbacks, okay. Yeah, okay. And a chain as well. So I think this is probably going to be at the limit of what we're going to be looking at because like this is also getting fairly complex. But the point of it is that since Active Record uses a whole bunch of callbacks, and Active Job wraps callbacks, there's a lot of optimization that's gone into some of this where you would also have constraints of versions of Ruby and performance and things like that, and you want it to be performant. I remember there was also refactoring done on all of this, how these chains and callbacks and the way they're like promulgated or whatever, some optimization done so they don't take up too much space in like a backtrace. But they used to just spit out so much stuff so you couldn't see your own code. And so there's some refactoring done to also make sure we don't have too many frames on there. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Aaron there, yeah, exactly. Extracting and setting callbacks, okay. Well, 12 years ago, so probably a good day. I don't know. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Yeah. Oh. Interesting. Okay. Okay, is there anything else you want explained or us to dive deeper into? I think I'll kind of do that. Yeah, something you want to see or us to walk through, or maybe discuss more the meta programming stuff that some of you don't get to see as often. Anything else that would be clarifying or things like that?
How was the class eval working in that extended?
Oh, where were we? We're in here. Oh, yeah. Yes. This fuck's a different thing. Actually, why are we doing it this way? Oh, Jose Valem, 16 years ago. I signed off by you. Okay, so this is like old school. Also 16. I don't think we actually need this. Oh wait, now I know why. So this is a quirk of Ruby. Include used to be a private method. So, so what I would write is if I want to, basically the hook we saw earlier would extend it. If I didn't want to include, make sure I include a not a module, I would write it like this. But back 16 years ago, include was a private method. So Jose there is using class eval to open the object up so you're within itself, and then you could call include without sending it, because the other way you'd have to do it would be, again, back then, you would have to do send include like that to circumvent the fact that it's private. We can show that as well. So we got hello there. What if we do, let's do a private, do it like that. Don't think do we need anything else? I think that's kind of it. So we get that kind of error, essentially. But then the way you could circumvent that is by using send, and then Ruby will just like send it without worrying about it. But then you could also do, what was it, like class eval, I guess? Oh wait, but that's going to be at the class level. Hold on. Okay, but that's the reason for it. It's like a quirk. So you won't need that anymore. Like these days, you just write it like that. So that's also, Rails being so old and having survived through so many Ruby versions, it has some of these like quirks in there. It's not really making sense for why you do that. Yeah, I think that's the reason for it. Cool. Oh, I hit something. Cool.
The Rails team would consider fixing it the way you did. They consider that a cosmetic.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know how much you want the happen to have that commit from 16 years ago. I don't know. Maybe it's useful. Oh, well, there it is. That was the thing we were talking about. We're moving the callbacks out to active model. Okay. So that happened in 2009 in like late December. So cool. And Jose, who's here, did that. So cool. Sorry, I saw someone else raise their hand. Was it you? Yeah.
I was just like, if it's a cosmetic change, you have to prove it like improves performance.
Yeah, well then it wouldn't be cosmetic, but yeah. If it's cosmetic, it's purely like stylistic or the change we just saw, because the idea is to preserve some of the history to make it slightly easier to reach, for better or worse or whatever. Some of it's a little bit like, well, Git could also be better at showing things or whatever, but I don't know. That's kind of what we got right now. Yeah. So does everybody feel comfortable doing this on their own or trying more things? Or Kieran, you keep just nodding your head, but I like it. Perfect, cool. Anyone else that's like got questions or things like, I have no idea how I do this, or something out? Other tips? Yeah.
Quick question. On the documentation here, how is that generated?
Generated, yes. So I think it's RDoc. They'll go through, parse all the files, and then pull it out. Or these days it's Yard. So there's some discussions like 5 years ago, more than that, 10 years ago also, something like that, about switching the documentation style to use Yard, because that would allow you to also describe parameters better, or it has some like different syntax. So I think that's what's used these days. And then this kind of stuff that we're seeing here, let's see. Oh, this is going to be documented. Okay, let's see if we can find that. So it's going to be on the API, ruby.on.org. Let's see, and then we'll see, is it in here? Model. There we go, okay. Oh. And some other stuff, where was it? Oh, it's because I misspelled it. There we go. And then we're in here with these, okay, where is it? That thing. So this stuff here is what's right here. It'll end up in the same place as well. And then you can also use the documentation site to go back to, you can see the source itself here. And is this for 8.1? I think it is. It's gonna be the same. Yeah, looks the same, pretty much. And then you could also find it on GitHub, and now you're back into the source. So that's another way that I would do it, is like, oh, I've heard this method, I just want to find it on the doc site. Maybe just skim the documentation and then grab bits and pieces of it, like, oh, I haven't seen array before, how does that work? And then you'd know about that as something you could use. I wouldn't use the extract options because that's before keyword arguments, so just use those instead. Cool. think we got like 25 minutes left. I wonder if it's probably too late for a break again, unless people feel like they need it or something, or we just run the clock out with something. Cool. I wonder if we should do something else then. Let's hop out of these things. What do we want to look at? I wonder if actually it might be good to explain concerns. Oh, there's class eval again. Yeah, and included as well. So, 14 years ago. Okay. So, just kind of like a. Oh, I'm just finding words. One of the suggested approaches for organizing your Rails app is using these concerns, which is sort of extensions on top of Ruby's built-in modules to make them slightly nicer and some syntactic sugar. But in Rails' code base also uses them internally, so they're kind of nice to know how they work, and they sort of pull on a lot of different metaprogramming stuff. You wouldn't use it in apps, but it's kind of interesting to see how some of the stuff works. So the included hook is then similar to what we saw with extended, but it happens when this module M is included somewhere, this hook will fire, and then you can fire off some extra details on top of that. So if you've ever seen a concern, they kind of look like, well, I guess they have it here, right? You extend this concern stuff, then you have an included block, and you also have these class methods within this block. So from 15 years ago, okay. An awesome example, okay. Cool. 2010. But the plain Ruby way to do that is using the included hook. So that's what concerns actually override in the background. Well, does some other stuff. And it'll extend with the class methods. So extend will actually, if we want to unfold some more, let's see here. What if we do it this way? If we do base, so many things. Unfolding more concepts. Extend is really just an include called on this singleton class. And the singleton class is how you get to the class instance itself. So like class methods are actually, technically there's no class methods in Ruby. They're all instance methods on like different classes. So it's kind of weird. So every class has the singleton class entity, and then your class methods go on that. So once you know that, this kind of extend is actually just another way of typing include, but on the singleton class. So it's like a shorter version of that. And extend was a thing before, well, it still is, but it was kind of before Ruby had the singleton class. It had the concept, but just not this method. And then there was a way you could get at it by doing, so if you ever see this in a code base, hold on, I mistyped it. And then you could do self, and then like that, or you could access it within there. So you're now within that class instance. And then sometimes people would get it like this, so you could get the singleton class by doing this. Sometimes people will call it the meta class, so then we'll write it like this. I think Minitest does this. I think it has a line like this in there because that works all the way back to Ruby 1.1 something, you know. So a bunch of different names for things there, but yeah. Okay, don't need this. Class eval. Yeah. Do we want to cover this? Just extended again. We're setting, now we're using another metaprogramming hook to set an instance variable from outside the object. And you have to pass it a symbol that also starts with an @ sign like you would the instance variable. So we're setting an internal instance variable to this empty array, and then we're going to be using that elsewhere.
We were looking at this, we're wondering why it's called underscore dependencies for the instance variable, but then features. Append features, is that a hook?
Yes, yes. So when you actually include a module, Ruby will actually call this method on your module so that you can append your features to where you're included. So the base, so if you have like user.include some module, the base here would actually be the user, I think. No, or is it ourselves? No, wait, sorry, that's actually going to be ourselves. Okay. this is at the limit of my understanding some of this append feature stuff. If I wanted to look at this more, I might figure out how to, like, in a sample Rails app, maybe have a concern, and then open this up and putting some put statements and seeing if it actually, what fires off and what's base here and stuff like that. But then, what are we actually doing there? Okay. Okay, I understand. So, concerns also allow you to nest them. So, by default, we got like Ruby modules. Ruby doesn't really let you nest them exactly because your instance methods are going to be within the module, and then just trying to explain modules like 2 hours in. But sometimes you want behavior that's actually at the edge. So if you have, yeah, I mean, we saw it in callbacks. You got active callbacks, and you got those action model callbacks, and you got active support callbacks. So you're like 3 modules level deep, but these are all these concerns. So you want your, when ActionRecord then includes its own callbacks into itself, you want all that behavior to be within ActionRecord, not within those different modules. So what this is saying here is actually a check for, oh, we're also concerned because we have this internal flag. And then in that case, we're just going to append another dependency, and then we're going to return false. So we don't actually add any behavior. So it's a way of deferring adding that behavior. And in a case where, so this happens when you're included in something that's not a concern. That's what these lines are saying, really convolutedly, kind of. So we're going to hit that else branch when we're included, and then we're checking to see if we're actually also a concern. That's what this is saying. So self here is going to be that concern, I think. And then if we're also concerned, we're just going to return false. And if not, then we're going to loop through all of our dependencies and start including those. And then we're going to let Ruby do its default behavior. And then we're going to grab, so the class methods do, I show that too. I think it's like, where is it? Yeah, it just defines a module dynamically, checks if it's there or not. I think false here is whether or not it's private or something. So it's like we're okay with it also being private. If not, we're defining a new module in line as well. And then we're evaluating that block within that module. Yeah. And then back up to append features. What was that at? We can then grab it if it's there. And then we'll extend, oh, see there. Oh, wait, sorry, this is append features. Okay, yeah. So now in append features, we want to do the extend, but because there's no equivalent of prepending on an instance class, there's not like a name concept for that. That's why they're doing it this way, where then we're using that singleton class to prepend. But the top level one here could also just be that singleton class dot include, but extend is the way you like say that. So, but you could make it look slightly similar if you wanted to this way. But yeah. And then finally, if you have that included block, see, we're also checking whether or not there's one of those, and then we're just accessing it, and then firing off whatever's in there within an automatic class eval, essentially. From 12 years ago, okay. Make sense? This is like, yeah. Yeah, easy, super easy, yeah. So simple, yeah. But there is like a logic to it, essentially, like knowing a lot of these different introspection methods makes this a little bit easier. We're just accessing instance variables from outside the object itself, which you're typically not supposed to do, but it allows you to do some of these things, which again I wouldn't do in an app, unless like very rare cases, but sometimes that could be interesting to do in like a library. But I want to have more like that concept clear. Cool. Cool. I think, unless anybody's got any questions, I think maybe we should just like call here, and we could also like, if anyone wants to like stick around and talk more or something. Yeah. Sound good? Cool. Sweet. Thanks for coming, everybody. Yeah. Thank you.